Welcome back to the podcast, in my opinion, by Uli. I'm your host, Uli. And if you have been following along, we've talked about building healthy relationships and avoiding misunderstandings. But today, we're looking into what happens in every relationship, no matter how strong the relationship is and its conflict. Let's be real, disagreements are part of life. Whether it's your partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, whether your colleague, anybody, we all experience conflict. The key isn't to avoid it, but to learn how to navigate it in a way that strengthens the relationships rather than breaking it apart. But depending on the type of conflict that you're having. So, in this episode, we'll be talking about handling conflict in a healthy way in your relationship with your loved ones without hurting each other or creating distance. Let's go into it. Conflict isn't the enemy. Conflict is in the enemy. Let's see. For example, when you care about somebody, when you care about someone, and you are bound to have different opinions and emotions. I'm talking about perception and perspectives right now. Conflict gives you a chance to understand each other better. The goal isn't to win. The goal is to find a solution that respects both sides. In a conflict, there's always an argument, no matter what the argument is. But sometimes you think that your perception is um, better than the other person's perception. But it's for you to find a solution on how to resolve that conflict. That is what matters. And that is why I said perception and perspective. And a lot of people think that conflict is a sign of weakness in a relationship. No, it's not. But the truth is, conflict isn't bad. It is based on how we handle it. That's what matters. And again, have you ever said something in the heat of an argument and then you later regretted it? I have. That's why I'm saying I have. So when emotions run high in an argument and you're having this conflict, be no matter how it is, no matter the conflict, it's easy to react instead of respond. But reacting out of anger or frustration can cause more harm than good. That's why I said that in terms of the distance, you have to, in terms of creating distance with conflict, you have to have a solution to bring yourself back in the relationship, have a discussion. The simple trick is pause before you speak. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, am I helping the situation or making it worse? If you're arguing, you have to know when to stop. It's not a matter of winning. A few seconds can make a huge difference in how the conversation unfolds. And this is respond and don't react. And then we have to listen to understand, not to win. A lot of times we listen to reply. We listen not to understand what the other party is talking about, what your partner is talking about, what your colleague is talking about, what your family member, your sibling is talking about. You just want to reply because of what the person is telling you, but you have to pause sometimes to think about what the person is saying and to understand what the person's perception. Where have you been, okay, for example, have you been in an argument where instead of really hearing the other person, you were just thinking about what you would say next? That's what I'm saying. You have to listen, not to react. You have to listen not to win. You have to listen not to react. You have to listen to understand what the person is saying. Instead of trying, instead of reacting, let's see this, making eye contact. If in person that you're arguing with, try to make eye contact with the person and maybe giving small verbal cues like, I get that. Okay, go on. You have to listen to the person, repeating back what you said. Like, so what you're saying is, right? So all those things, you can try all those things like making eye contact, using verbal cues like I get it, go on, and So, what are you saying? All those little phrases will make you calm down and listen to what the other party has to say. And when you have to say something back, it has to be in response of what that party has said to you. And it has to be in a very calm way. When people feel heard, they're less defensive and more open to working things out. And instead of this, if there is something that you have to focus on the issue, not the person. Focus on the issue at hand, not the person. One common mistake during conflict is when we focus on the issue. That's not the problem. But when you focus on the person, that's the problem. Attacking the person instead of addressing the issue, saying things like you always do this. Why do you always do this all the time? I'm talking and you're talking back. Why do you always do this all the time? No, you never listen. You like, for example, you never listen. Puts the other person on a defensive mode. Instead of saying all those things, let's focus on how you feel and what you need. For example, instead of you saying you never help around the house, try saying, I feel overwhelmed with chores. Can we figure out a way to share them together? Small changes in wordings can lead to much better conversation. That is why in my last episode, I talked about tone, the tone we use in saying things, in saying what we want to say. Because all these small changes in wordings can really lead to much better conversations so that the other party would not be in a defensive mode. And the last one now we'll be looking at is the power of we instead of me versus you. Let me break it down. At the end of the day, you and the other person are on the same team, right? Shifting from me versus you to we changes everything in a couple, in marriages, in partnerships, in business, in in the office settings, in a family, in your family, in your siblings. You can, instead of you to say how can you fix this, you say how can we fix this. Instead of say what's the solution that works for the both of us, what's the solution that works for us right now. Those are the questions that you have to put in your head. I don't want us to fight. I want us to figure this out together. All those words, all those sweet words that you say can actually help people to understand you better and you understand the person better. This simple mindset can shift your mental tone, your mental statements, and create a connection between you, a stronger connection between you and your partner, a stronger connection between you and your family in terms of how you speak, even in very tough moments. Sometimes conflict gets heated, but that's okay. If emotions are running too high to communicate effectively, just take a break. Just make sure to come back to the conversation maybe some other time and say something like, I want to talk about this, but I need a little time to cool down. Let's revisit this in maybe in an hour's time or maybe tomorrow. This keeps the conversation productive instead of turning it into a never-ending fight. So, my lovelies, conflict does not have to break up a relationship. It actually can help strengthen the relationship if it is handled with care, depending on the kind of conflict you're having, depending on the kind of argument you're having. The key is to take deep breaths before responding. Like when you say count from 1 to 5, set in your mind before you respond. That really helps. Listen to understand, focus on the issue, not the person, and work together instead of against each other. That's us, not me and you. One thing you can try next time when you're in disagreement is try all these things I have said. Try all these things I have talked about, like listening to understand and focusing on the issue. And next time we'll be talking about something very, very interesting. Until then, take care and keep building those strong, healthy connections and always remain calm. Bye.